I need to know that my voice is not screaming for help under a flooded society, that it is being heard, not just to be heard, but to be taken seriously. I need wealthy policymakers to stop putting my future up for profit. I need to know that the beautiful scenes I am privileged to witness can be admired by my grandchildren and future generations to come. I need them to stop because we sure as hell won't. La naturaleza es belleza, entonces deja que se quede así. Because to protect her is to protect us. I just need a livable future. Is that too much to ask?
Let them know they can't throw us away, no. Let them know they can't throw us away, no. Let them know they can't throw us away, ay. No one is disposable. Let them know they can't throw us away, no. Let them know they can't throw us away, no. Let them know they can't throw us away, ay. No one is disposable.
COVID and climate change ain't far from the same. People in the margins disrespected and blamed. They put oil and gas infrastructures where we play, contaminate the lands, air, and the rain. Our health in a game, our lungs are inflamed. Stuck in a cage with a severe corona case. Displaced by the climate while they profit from our pain. But I don't see them treating their children the same way. Hey, they try to bury me, but don't know I'm a seed. We are seeds existing, flourishing with no ID. No one is disposable. We are capable, rooted like a vegetable, and taking back the time to get it to my people. Want everything equal, no government's free throw. We know how to water the roots. Need no politician telling us how to do it. Need no politician telling us how to
Let
do
them know they
it.
can't throw us away, no. Let them know they can't throw us away, no. Let them know they can't throw us away, ay. No one is disposable. Let them know they can't throw us away, no. Let them know they can't throw us away, no. Let them know they can't throw us away, ay.
Don't they know?
No one is disposable.
Tried to bury us, didn't know we were seeds. Frighten us, expecting us to retreat, recede, fall back. Shut up, sit down. We rooted here in breaking ground. Concrete roses and dandelions. Come summertime, we fly the wind with wishes of our family riding, rising high, carry them up to God's ears. Divine beings, we know that God hears. See the system writhing, crying, fighting for its last dying breath. It rather pillage till it's nothing left, and paradigm shift to the left. Like sharing wealth will be the kiss of death. Well, I got a news flash for you folks. Our youth are ravenous savages, and they ain't gonna take no more. So kiss your billions to sleep tonight, cause come morning time, we gon' retrieve our birthright.
Let them know they can't throw us away, no. Let them know they can't throw us away, no. Let them know they can't throw us away, ay. No one is disposable. Let them know they can't throw us away, no. Let them know they can't throw us away, no. Let them know they can't throw us away, ay. No one is disposable.
Burning bright with hope and love. Sexism, racism they throw at us.
You can throw us into dirt and darkness, but just like a plant, we grow through the soil and towards the light.
Controlling us as if we are property. Though they try to change us, we are unbreakable.
You have forgotten what happens when we unite. Together we are strongest, and we will fight. We need a livable future, and not just for the wealthy.
They look at us with greed-filled eyes, afraid of our strength.
The toxic pollution you dump into the air is like poison and makes us all unhealthy. I'm fighting for my sisters and brothers in Mother Earth. I'm sorry that you have forgotten her work.
It depends on our people understanding how important our voices and thoughts are. Because unlike before, we refuse to be silenced. I'm fighting for a world where people will be prioritized over profit. A world where we no longer have to fear poverty, immigration, white supremacy, racism, sexism, homophobia, and other truly ugly things in this truly beautiful world. I stand with those who continue to be systematically silenced and whose presence seems to be dismissed. For those who have been here for centuries long before us and continue to be exploited and misrepresented. I stand with the Indigenous leaders who are filled with knowledge but are constantly mistakenly spoken for.
Thank you so much all for being here. We're very excited. I'm Gina. I have some fellow Youth vs. Apocalypse members, Anaya, Isha, and Lisbeth. Today we are going to share with you some stuff. So I'll just tell you what we have planned for today. We're gonna do a panel where we talk about what we think climate justice is. We're gonna ask you what you think it is, and then after that, we're gonna have a writing workshop hosted by Anaya, where we get to share our thoughts and on different questions about what climate justice is again. And then once you have time to write down your thoughts, we'll have like a little share out. So yeah, please let us know if you guys have any comments or anything. But thank you all for being here.
Thanks, Gina. So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for coming. We kind of like, we're seeing this workshop in two different parts. So the first part is like a youth panel with the folks from Youth versus Apocalypse. And then the second part, as Gina said, will be a creative writing workshop. So we were anticipating having more people here, which is totally fine that we have a smaller group. We small but mighty out here. We appreciate all of you for being here. So we're gonna try to like make it more interactive than we had anticipated, but just to say like the creative writing part is really where we're all gonna come together. So stick with us through the panel. I hope that you find that part interesting. So maybe let's just start it off. And also like we welcome people typing things in the chat, like just shouting out things, adding things, whatever. So to start it off, can we have folks on our youth panel? So Gina, me, Anaya, and Lisbeth, introduce yourselves. Like who you are, pronouns, where you're from, and why you do the work that you do. And I will pass that to Anaya to start.
Hey y'all, my name is Anaya Butler. I'm 15 years old and from Oakland, California. I am a spoken word poet and youth organizer with Youth versus Apocalypse. Within YVA, I'm a lead circle member, a co-coordinator of the Reclaim Our Power campaign and the coordinator of the Hip Hop and Climate Justice Initiative. I do the work that I do because the climate crisis is something that youth will, suffer from in the future, and communities of color are already suffering from now. And so as a person of color, but also as a person that is youth, I fall into both of these categories. And so I want to fight for climate justice for my communities, but also for my future.
Thank you, Anaya. And Lisbeth.
Hey everyone, my name is Lisbeth, like Isha said. My pronouns are she, her. I am 16 years old and in YVA, I am a part of the lead circle. I also co-coordinate the social media and as well as one of the campaigns called California Youth versus Big Oil. And the reason that I do the work that I do, or the reason I started just to begin with, is because I never really realized how much of like the crises that we're facing, specifically like the climate crisis, how connected they are with social justice issues and so many other things that social justice intersects with. And I think I kind of felt like climate justice is something that affects everyone in one way or another, and the climate crisis is going to affect everyone. And like Anaya was saying, like especially young people of color. So I kind of just felt like it was my role, or like I felt like it was my job to get involved. But yeah, and I'll pass it back to Isha.
And Gina.
Hey everyone, my name is Gina. I am 17 years old. I am from East Palo Alto, California. I got into the work of like being an advocate. I consider myself climate justice and social like justice advocate, and it kind of started like when I saw like the issues firsthand kind of affecting the community where I live now. I'm like, I can't just sit here knowing that it'll affect me and it'll affect like younger children, and like I'm a teenager and I'm young, but there's even younger people like that are more affected than myself, and I guess I couldn't just sit there and like not do anything when I knew I could like get involved with Youth versus Apocalypse and jump into some awesome work. So just fighting for my future and everyone else in communities who are already being affected.
Thanks, y'all. And also, I would invite people who are a part of this session to go ahead and like put in the chat who you are. I know we already said where we're calling in from, but maybe like, what is the work that you do and why do you do that work? We'd love to see that in the chat. And my name is Isha. And I am one of the co-founders of Youth versus Apocalypse. I've been in many roles in YVA, but right now I serve as the media and collaborations coordinator. So if any of you are working with organizations that you think would like to partner with YVA, like hit me up. I'll put my email in the chat. And I do the work that I do because I believe in collective liberation. And that's what this session is about. This session is really about talking about what that means, but also really being able to envision what a world where we have achieved collective liberation will look like. And we'll start really getting into that during the creative writing piece. So anyways, I do this work because, I think that at this point, collective liberation is about survival. Like, if we don't do the work to liberate all people, then none of us will be able to survive, because it is the very systems that keep us separate and that keep us oppressed that are destroying the planet and have brought us to this point of climate catastrophe. So that's why we're here. And now I want to have a conversation before we get into like the freedom dreaming piece about what climate justice actually is, because I feel like people think of different things when they hear climate justice, and I really just want to hone in on what our ideas about climate justice are. So Gina, what does climate justice mean to you?
Climate justice to me looks like, I guess, addressing the issues, like that you have to notice the intersectionality between communities of color and the climate crisis. They coexist. One, like, communities of color suffer to a greater extent because they are at a disadvantage. And I think that we have to acknowledge first that is an issue. And it's fighting for those communities who may not be able to do it for themselves. And of course, I believe they can, but I want to do that. I want to help out. And I had another thought, but it kind of escaped from me for a moment. So if I think about it, I'll come back to you. But that's what I think it is, like addressing that.
For sure. Feel free to put it in the chat when you got it, and I'll come back to you. Lisbeth, what does climate justice mean to you?
I love this question because I feel like every time I answer what is climate justice, like it always kind of changes because it's always developing for me. But I feel like, and the reason for that is because climate justice is so many things. And I think there's a big misconception about like climate change when like talking about like battling the climate crisis. I feel like it's a lot of the times people are just talking about like earth and the environment. And I think climate justice specifically, like the reason that just climate activists and climate justice activists, like the difference between them is that climate justice is living in a world completely different than the one we're currently living in. And it's like not just about the environment, it's about like I know like Gino touched on this, but about like social justice issues, and like Isha was saying, like a world where everyone can thrive in. So I think climate justice is so many things, but I would sum it up as it being an intersectional movement that is fighting the climate crisis along with all of the other crises that we're facing.
Word. Anaya, what about you?
Yeah, I just want to echo everything Lisbeth and Gina said. And then I think climate justice is just about being radical and looking at the root of these crises that we're currently going through. And I think climate justice is, dismantling these unsustainable systems of oppression that have really allowed and created the climate crisis to happen. And so I think, yeah, climate justice is about dismantling those systems and then also rebuilding a world with, foundations of equity, sustainability, and just really honesty and like compassion. And, creating a world like Isha said and Elizabeth said, where, really every living thing has the opportunity to actually thrive and to not be silenced.
Yes. Gina, I see it came back to you. Do you want to add more to that?
Yeah, I guess I also just want to echo. Naya basically said what I was already thinking, but really, I think it's like tackling those systems of oppression because they've been in place for so long, and clearly we kind of see a pattern of like just politicians and different like leaders in power are kind of affecting it with the decisions they make, and we need to address that. We need change for the people because if the people don't do the work, we kind of see that politicians won't. So, politicians listen to the people, and we have to do our part to push them in the right direction, that they need to listen to us because this is our future.
Yeah, y'all are spitting some real truth. I'm hearing a lot about, people, about changing systems, about shifting the way that we live. And I'm curious to know for the people here, what does climate justice mean to you? Please put that in the chat. We would love to hear that. And I think, yeah, climate justice means power to the people, period. For me, I 100% agree with everything that's been said. And I think, a lot of times climate justice is seen as this like piece of climate work, that it's like a part of it. And like for me, I'm like, hell no. Nah. Like climate justice is the solution to climate change, because as my wonderful, beautiful comrades were saying, climate justice is about getting to the root cause. And the root cause of climate change is white supremacy, is colonialism, is exploitative capitalism, is patriarchy, is ableism, is all of these systems that devalue life. And so that is the work that we're doing. That's what YVA is doing. That's what people who claim who are taking on climate justice are taking on. So now moving into a conversation about freedom. What does freedom mean? Like, what does that even look like? And do y'all think that we can be free in this moment or in, our lifetime? Or is that something that we have to wait for? And I'm gonna pass that to Anaya.
Yeah, I love that question. I think, freedom is so much, especially just like thinking from my perspective as like a Black person and just really living in this country where like my ancestors have like really never been free before, haven't had the opportunity to thrive. And, we've been just, surviving, but we really haven't been, living, fulfilling and living life. And so I think freedom for me is just that opportunity to thrive and to actually, be recognized as a human being in this country, and just, being accepted. Yeah, just having the opportunity to thrive and to be accepted. And whether we can, be free right now, I feel like is a big thing, especially with like everything going on right now. I think we will be able to be free, in this lifetime, or at least in my lifetime, but I think that is something we really, really have to work for. And that, like as everyone has said before, we have to, look at the root of these problems and really, shift the way we live, and the systems that we follow. But yeah.
Thank you for that, Anaya. Elizabeth, what do you think?
I think that the world, well, I think what Anaya said was beautiful, first of all, but I just want to say that, like, I think that the world that we're currently living in, and like, we're currently living under capitalism, and I think that under capitalism, none of us will ever truly be free, because, people are working and working and working for their basic necessities. And I don't believe that's what we were put here to do. I think that freedom is absolutely a possibility, and freedom is something that we were meant. Freedom is what free is what we're supposed to be, but we're not because of all of these systems that y'all have already touched on. But I just want to say, like, to me, freedom. Oh, I'm so sorry for my dog.
All good, Elizabeth. You're welcome to finish that thought if you want. Maybe while you wait for your dog to stop barking, I'll pass it to Gina.
Hey, so I think freedom basically is like the possibility of people living comfortable. I can't say that word. Oh my god. Com- Comfortable. There you go. And that's not the word, but you guys get what I mean. As like others already live like that, right? And I think with Beth touching base, we weren't like put on this earth to work work for our lives, you know? Like my mom, she just works day and night, you know, and I don't think that's freedom, you know. Freedom is being able to just live for you, enjoy the moment, enjoy the earth around you, enjoy the company around you. And I think we all need that. And I think we need to put a stop to like the way things have been going for so long, and that way like giving people like clean energy sources, resources to live how you're supposed to live without a worry for your life, for your health, you know? So, yeah.
That is so beautiful. I 100% agree. I think, in this society that's been built that has created climate change, that society is so much about our life and our worth being tied to our labor and our doing things with our bodies, building things, creating things, like making things run. And that's only a piece of what it means to be alive. I think that's such an important point, that freedom, yeah, exactly, productivity, but I think that's such an important point, that freedom is about being able to live fully in your life and like be connected to the earth, as I saw in the chat, and to like be with family and to love and to live and to like have the opportunity to be a human being on this planet, like living and figuring it out and being fully in what we are. And there's this quote that Dr. Angela Davis has, which is, we have to act as if it is possible to radically transform the world, and we have to do it all the time. And I feel like that's something that's stuck with me for a while now, and is really how I feel like I go about doing this work, because when we think of all this shit that we have to overcome to be free, like it is daunting, But I think if we think about that, if we reorient ourselves to that quote, to know that we just have to believe, and we have to believe firmly every single day, that I think we can actually get there. I love that. So my next question is, what does a world in which we've won look like? And I'm going to pass that to Anaya.
Yeah, that question, I love that question also. I feel like it looks like so many things, but to put it in a short response, I think it sort of, looks like not the complete opposite, but the majority of the opposite of what this world looks like today and the world that we're living in. Because the world that we're living in is not for everyone. It's, it doesn't allow everyone to, actually be free, it doesn't allow everyone to thrive. It doesn't allow everyone to, be a human being. And so living, thinking about the world that, what it would look like if we won, I feel like it just looks like people being able to do what they're supposed to do from the beginning, and not following these unsustainable systems anymore, you know communities not being marginalized anymore, people being appreciated, their presence, and just equity, sustainability, all that good stuff. But overall, I feel like a world where we won, it looks like the opposite of this, and just where everyone can be happy and be accepted, and actually live a happy life and a healthy life.
Yes. Lisbeth, what do you think?
I think, well, also, I feel like everyone else should also put down in the chat, like, what that looks like to you, because I think it's so many different things. But like for me, a world where we have one, it's like, I think it definitely one, obviously, it's like we have dismantled the systems of oppression that have brought us here, like white supremacy, colonialism, capitalism, all the things that we talked about. But I also think, like, when thinking of the small things, it means everyone has housing, everyone has access to healthcare, people aren't living near refineries, and people aren't suffering from higher rates of cancer and asthma based on what their address is. People have access to groceries and things like that. Because I think that, like, these are all a part of climate justice, and I think all of this means freedom. And I think as long as we're living in a world where people, I know Isha, you were talking about like being productive, and what you have is based on like how much you work, like that's not how it should be. And I think living in a world where everyone has access to the same things, as well as like mental health resources and all of these things, is when we know that like we are living in a world where we've won. And yeah, I'm gonna pass it back to you, Isha.
Thank you for that. Um, Gina, what do you feel like? What does a world in which we've won look like?
Yeah, I think that's good to envision what we're striving for. I think the first thing is listening to. I made like a little note for myself. I made sure to put like listening to Indigenous communities who've like already been fighting this fight for so long. Like I think we should start there. Like they've been at it for so long, and it's just something that our future needs, and we need to listen to those communities who have been affected most, and we were able to like others have said already dismantle the systems of oppression that we've had for so long. We need it. It's funny, sometimes I tell my twin sister, I'm like, these systems need to fall in order for a new kind of era to rise where we're not so divided, because today we're like our nation is just so divided, and the world, and it's like we seem to put kind of money over people, and we need to stop doing that. We need to value the life that humans bring to others, to the world, to the environment, and we just need to be there for each other and acknowledge that, hey, we're all human, we all bleed the same color, we're all here to live our lives, so we just need to treat each other like humans.
I so agree with that, with everything that's been said. I think at the core of all of this is this need to restore humanity and to connect back with the earth, like I keep seeing in the chat. That's definitely such an important piece. And I feel like, as people that are taking on this climate justice work, and beyond that, like, or a part of that are taking on this work for collective liberation, like it can be so, all of the stuff that we're wanting to dismantle and that's not right and that we need to move through can become so overwhelming, and I think get on top of us a lot of the time. And so I think taking these moments to envision, what does it look like when we actually win, not even what's not there, but what is there, what is present, and I think that can be a really hard thing to do, to be honest. And for me, the first thing that comes to me every time that I think about that is a feeling, like this feeling of safety, this feeling of pride, and this feeling of joy and happiness and love and connection. And I see, I see that on the faces of people in my community, and like that for me is what a world in which we'll live in feels like. And I think, what does it look like? I don't 100% know, to be honest. And yeah, I also see some stuff in the chat. When we have systems that center care for all people, land, and all beings, yes. And you know what, actually we have some extra time, so I would love to open it up to other folks in the room. Like, what does a world in which we have won look like to you? And you can feel free to unmute and answer that. You can also answer, like, what does freedom mean? Any of the things that we've talked about. Anyone?
Can everyone hear me? I can do like a quick talk about what I mentioned earlier. First, my name is Vanessa. I use any pronouns. I'm from New Jersey, the central part. So I just think that having a relationship with Mother Earth again is like one of the most important things. I remember one of my friends who like got me, who got me wanting to be more involved with climate justice. I remember on their story, they asked this question. They were like, do you think that the earth misses us? And I was like, I don't know what it was about that question, but it just like blew my mind. I was like, huh, does it? Like, and I kept thinking about it and I'm like, yeah, absolutely. We've been like living in a mutualistic fashion with the earth for hundreds of thousands of years since our existence. It's only been like a short amount of time that white people pretty much decimated the earth. So it's like we've been living with each other for so long, you know, of course it misses us. Of course it's like, we want you to come back and grow things on our land. We want golf courses to be filled with animals and grass and wild grass. And just like, we do miss you guys. We just want you to be able to find a way to be able to live with us again and enjoy what we have to offer, because we've offered it to you for so long. But just stop killing. Like, enough. I'm tired.
Yeah, that is so beautiful and so important. Thank you so much for sharing that. And you know, that definitely goes back to like when we started exploiting the land is when we started exploiting people, because we stopped seeing the humanity and frankly the divinity like in all things, you know. And I think that it really separated us, and so it's so much about like bringing that together and reuniting. That's so beautiful. Does anyone else have anything that they want to add to the conversation?
Isha, what was your prompt again?
The question was, what does a world in which we've won look like?
Oh, okay. So when you say one, in what sense? Because I'm just kind of joining in at the last part of the conversation.
Yeah, no worries. We were talking about climate justice and collective liberation. Our work being to dismantle the systems that devalue life. So getting rid of all this.
Oh, okay. Well, I think what you were speaking about earlier in regards to tapping into the Indigenous in order to learn from their agricultural practices and how they are in right relationship with Mother Earth. And you have to understand, our planet is a living, breathing organism. We are nature. When we die, we compost and we feed the seeds that grow the plants that continuously provide sustenance and life for us. So for me, I feel like that's where we need to return to, is to respect our home, to respect each other, and not just each other, but ourselves too, because I feel like there's been such a disassociation in regards to our environment, period. And that's why I kind of feel like all of the colonization, all of the oppression that people of color have experienced generationally, I mean, all that trauma of separating us from the land, because the mentality, and I hate to say it because it sounds so racist. I'm so sorry. But when white people started colonizing and thinking nature is a resource, that's where that disconnected happen. When you start looking at the planet as just profit and not as your mother, not as your teacher, not as someone who, because it is a spirit that provides for you, because you cannot survive unless you have the environment that's going to provide that for you. And when you continuously extract and mine all the resources, you're literally setting yourself for destruction. So one of my greatest inspirations is Vandana Shiva. If you don't know who Vandana Shiva is, you should look her up. She is a nuclear physicist, okay, who grew up in the Himalayas, the Himalaya forest, and she realized that how destructive nuclear power was. And so she has become an adamant protector and warrior for seeds. And when you think of seeds is life. And for her, when you try to patent life, like Monsanto and Bayer have been doing, you take away that right for us to be able to have life. Because plants come from seeds, and seeds provide all of the sustenance that we need, but they need water and earth and air, all of that, and we're destroying it with all of the pollution, with all the extraction. And I just feel like we need to reconnect with our Mother Earth. We need to start respecting her and start living in harmony and having that reciprocal relationship again.
Yes. Thank you for that. I felt like that was like a church moment right there. I was like, come on. Yes. Wow. All right. So before we transition into the creative writing workshop, I also just want to open it up for anyone to propose any questions for us or for the group. Does anyone have anything to ask?
I'd like to pose a question. How would you like to use your creativity or imagination to create, like, envision the perfect world? If we didn't have all of the hate and violence and brutality, like, what would the world really look like if we all came together and everyone had a seat at the table?
That's a great question. I sort of feel like that question is a great transition into the creative writing workshop, because that's actually what we're going to be doing, using our creativity to answer that question. So I'm going to actually pass it to Anaya to take us through that.
Yeah, for sure. That is something we will definitely be doing. So just to touch on a little about that question, I'm a spoken word poet, and so poetry is my way of activism. It's my way of expressing the catastrophes that are happening in the world, to put it in a simple way. So with that being said, we all wanted something that is interactive, but also, freedom dreaming, and a way of doing that is through creative writing. My specialty, poetry. And so today we'll be doing some poetry, freedom dreaming with the prompts that we had asked earlier, and just, sort of explaining the unexplainable, which I think poetry really is. And for me right now, sort of freedom, it seems like that it's not an opportunity that we'll get, but a way of, expressing that and expressing those emotions affiliated with that thought is through poetry. So we'll be leading a creative, sorry, I muted myself, workshop today. Can you share screen, please? So the first thing I will be doing is a word list, which is basically where the facilitator, myself, gives you prompts and questions to sort of help you come up with, individual ideas and words that come up when you hear or read that prompt or question. So I put a couple here, and if you have like any more questions, please feel free to put them in the chat or anything else that comes to mind. But a couple of questions are: what is climate justice? What is freedom? What is freedom for you as an individual? Think of like you're the only person on the world. What does freedom look like for you? Are you free? If not, why aren't you? And what is keeping you from being free? What does a free world look like? What does a world where we have lost look like? And what does a world where we have won look like? And with all these, questions, keep in mind of like, your senses, what sounds, smells, feelings, sights, and tastes come to mind. And then, yeah. And so if you need anything right now, I recommend getting a piece of paper or pulling out like a doc or anything. If you want to keep your writing, I don't recommend you writing in the chat. So like pulling up a blank doc, notes, just really anything that you can write on. I like to write with pencil and paper, because it just helps me feel more connected. But you can write any way you want to. So I'll just give y'all a couple seconds to get all that stuff out. Okay, so just to like reiterate what I said before, right now we're just doing a word list. So coming up with individual ideas and phrases that you think of when you hear these or read the questions. And really just tapping into your senses, sensory details visually is like really, 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 really important in poetry. Because like I said, it helps explain the unexplainable. So yeah, so I have 5 minutes to do this. I'm gonna say until 4:22, and then I can check in about 2.5 minutes after. And you can also feel free to put any words or ideas you have in the chat, because I want this to be as interactive and collaborative as possible. And then after that, we can also unmute and sort of touch on those ideas and phrases that come to mind. Yeah.
Are we going question by question, or how are we doing that?
You can do, really the questions are there to sort of help you come up with ideas. So you can do question by question, or you can do out of order, but just really it's, getting the, I need a word, like the top ideas that come to mind, just out and on paper or on a doc. I put a couple of senses in the chat, but just to say again, to tap into your senses, what feelings, sound, taste, sight, smells come to mind when you read these questions, and just to think about, what right now is keeping you from being free if you aren't already, and just to like really imagine a world where we have one. Poetry is a great opportunity to imagine a reality that we don't live in today. So, really use poetry to create a reality where we have one. And what does winning even mean to you? And again, tap into your sensory details. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the next part. So just pause on like whatever idea or word you're on right now or phrase. Thank you. So now we're going to get into like the writing part, where we're using these words and ideas that we got or that we just wrote down and that we thought of, and to really put it into poetry. And so these words and ideas that you thought of are sort of like the foundation and the skeleton of your stanza, or of your whole piece, really. And so these are going to be like the main ideas and sort of themes, recurring themes in your poem. And so just keep in mind that. And then also just, if you want to add more ideas, you can, but I recommend sticking with what you already have, just because it can sort of just be easier to, connect them all together. But for sure, if you have any more, feel free to add them. So here are some guiding prompts that I put on. A lot of them are the same as the guiding prompts to the word list. So what comes to mind when you hear / read the words climate change? What is climate justice? What is freedom? What is freedom for you as an individual? Are you free? If not, why aren't you? What is keeping you from being free? What does a free world look like? What does a world where we have lost look like? What does a world where we have won look like? what does a sustainable world look like? What type of world do you want to live in? How do you face oppression? If you don't face oppression, what can you do to help people who do? And then what does an unsustainable world look like? So these are a couple guiding prompts, and I'm pretty sure there are thousands of more with all the problems that we have in the world, but these are like sort of the foundation of those. So you can use these guiding prompts. They're here to help you and to really help you come up with ideas and sort of topics that you want to cover in your poem, to really just help you imagine and to really get into, dreaming of a world where, that we want to live in, that you want to live in as an individual. So now we're going to take about 10 minutes just, writing and using, again, the words that we had from the word list to create a poem. And then we're going to come back for a shout out. And then we're also going to play a beat. If you don't like writing to music or to like instrumental beats, that's totally fine. Feel free to, turn it down a little bit, but just keep in mind that we'll be back in about 10 minutes, so at 4:37. So just keep in mind the time. But yeah, and if y'all have any questions, please let me know. You can unmute or put them in the chat. So that 10 minutes is starting now.
It still says I need access for the beat.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I can play it through my phone. It might sound like laggy. This might not work, but let me know if y'all can hear this all right. And if it does sound bad, I can just stop playing it and we can write in silence, or you can play like any other music that you might have. But yeah, so I'm gonna try to play it. If it does sound bad, just let me know and I'll stop.
Hey yo, Cabin, where you at, bro? yo, Cabot, where you at, bro? Hey, yo, Cabot, where you at, bro?
sorry to cut y'all off in the middle of the beat, but I do want to make sure we have time for some of the next steps in the workshop. So if y'all can just wrap up that last line, that last idea, that last word. Can you go to the next slide, please? Or the next slide. Thank you. Yeah, so a thing in my workshops that I like to do is offer a space to share out and to share your poetry. Just a reminder that this is a safe space for you to share your art, and it's also a great opportunity to read it out loud and to recognize the parts you like and you dislike, or the parts that you might want to edit with like wording and stuff like that. And then you can share anything you're comfortable with, whether that be a line or the whole thing. But like I said, this is a safe space, and this is a collaborative space where we all really want to dream for collective liberation. So yeah, I just want to offer the space to anyone who might want to share. And if you don't want to read it out loud, you can also type it in the chat and I can read it for you if you want, or we can just let the people, read it on their own time. And you can also type in the chat private to me if you want, and I can read it out loud anonymously. But yeah, so I just want to offer the space to anyone who might want to share.
I can go if that's all right.
For sure.
So for one of my lines, I want to see liberation. We demand non-erasure of identities. Those are just some of my lines.
That was dope. I love it. Whole bar. Does anyone else want to share? Like I said, you can share anything you're comfortable with.
I'm gonna volunteer and share. I got halfway through my poem, but let me see. All right. Okay. Fighting for air, I can't breathe. In a world full of misogyny, discrimination, and brutality, a white male dominant sexist society, a woman of color feeling lost in this world of violence. Where is my abundance? How can I get the respect and dignity I deserve? Stand up, rise up, use my voice, for we have choice. That's all I got.
I love that. I love the writing, and I also loved the call to action at the end, and just really like getting into like, your experience in this world. I love that. Does anyone else want to share? Okay, well, we'll have another opportunity to share so you can work on your writing some more. And so right now we're going to take just 5 more minutes to write a little bit more. So just really using what you have now and sort of expanding on those ideas that you have now as a skeleton for your poem, because sometimes it can be hard to like come up with new ideas because then you have to expand on those and expand on those. So yeah, so just really, expanding on those ideas and explaining them a little bit more, and just really using sensory details and thinking about your experience as an individual, and dreaming for a world where we have collective liberation. But yeah, could you go to the last slide? Not the last slide, but the slides before. Thank you. So yeah, like I said before, these guiding prompts are here to help you and to guide you to thinking about a world where we have one. And I also can re-put the sentence starters. But please let me know if y'all have any questions. But thank you for everyone for sharing. And I'll play the beat again.
Hey, yo, Cabot, where you at, bro? Hey yo, Cabot, where you at, bro?
Again, sorry to cut it off in the middle of the beat, but I do want to make sure that we have time to share out one last time. So to just wrap up that last idea, last word, last line you're on, and I'll wait a couple seconds for us to come back. Okay, could you go back to the 2 slides after this one, please? Yeah, so just to say again, this is a safe space for you to share your art. It's a great opportunity to read it out loud, and you can share anything you're comfortable with. So I just want to open up the space to anyone who might want to share. And you don't have to share out loud. You can also put your poetry in the chat privately to me or to everyone, or again, unmute and say it out loud, whatever y'all are comfortable with.
I can go, but it's really short. I said, freedom is a verb, meaning it's something that is occurring. So tell me, why is it the land of the free? Why is it the land of the free if we aren't really free? If freedom is actively occurring, why is it the land of the free if freedom isn't actively occurring? It's actually something we've never seen. And that's all I had. Sorry, I couldn't not even read my handwriting.
It's fine. I get it. I can't read my handwriting half of the time either. Thank you for sharing. That was beautiful. Does anyone else want to share?
I can share my cringy poem. I mean, I don't have a whole lot, but I managed to get like a couple of lines done. So I call it One Day. One day we're gonna live in a world that's unrecognizable. Maybe one day we'll see a fish at the bottom of a clear running river. Maybe one day we won't see a bird in a blue sky. Maybe one day we'll see colors of white and hear whistling winds while pretty flakes do a ballet. Maybe one day we'll see flaming reds and blazing oranges doing a tango with vulnerable greens. Maybe one day we'll travel down to roads of gray with 4 wheels or 18. Maybe one day it'll just be two. Maybe one day because I couldn't think of any more lines about colors. But yeah, that is what I have so far.
I love the imagery. Yes. That really, like, I could see everything you were talking about, and I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. Does anyone else want to share?
I can share. I don't really know what this is. It was hard for me, but here we go. I am greatness, a divine being blessed with the creative power that formed the universe. That is my capacity, and I will use it to architect a new society, one of love and compassion, of humanity, of respect for life. We all will. That's all.
I love that. Yes, I love like the connection, just like back to everyone and back to the universe. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, so before we end the workshop, I just want to make sure, does anyone else want to share? Okay, great. Well, I appreciate all y'all for writing and for sharing, and just for sharing your art and for holding this presence and space with us today. I hope that workshop was good or useful for y'all, and I hope y'all got to, dream for a collective liberation. But yes, and just to continue doing that, poetry is such a useful and powerful tool y'all can use, that I use every day. So I totally recommend it. But yeah, thank y'all. And I'll pass it to Isha, I think.
Gina.
All right, y'all. Thank you so much for sticking with us till the end. We are almost done, but we're gonna do a little closing where I'll put the question in the chat, but I'll also ask it. So out of this my bad. So again, what is your vision for freedom, and has it shifted through this whole session? I know we've talked about a lot of things, so it's open-ended to anyone who feels free to share. I'm sure some of us as youth are going to share our thoughts, but we would like to give you guys an open space to do so. If you guys don't feel like unmuting, you guys can put it in the chat as well. That is welcome. So please share your thoughts with us.
I can start it off. I feel like there was just a couple of things throughout the workshop that people said that just really deeply stuck with me. Like, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, but Benu, is that right?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, Benu.
Benu, earlier when you were just talking about how we are the earth, like we're a part of the earth, and just like the words that you use to say that, it would just like the imagery, it really, really touched me. And I realized that, I get so caught up in envisioning what needs to crumble, what needs to be dismantled, like all of that. And I rarely stop to think about the beauty in that and in what we're trying to do and what we're trying to get back to. And I felt like in that way, my vision for freedom really shifted to just this really deep understanding of my connection to earth and nature, and like just how real that is. I don't even know if I can accurately explain what I'm feeling. But then also, like when Vanessa was talking about freedom as colors and like experiencing that, it just all like deeply touched me. And I feel like my vision for freedom has really deepened in that way. Yeah, leave it there.
Isha, would anyone else like to go? I can also touch base on like what kind of stuck for me. I guess also what Benu said about, I've been thinking about like us as people are one, like I think I said earlier, like we've been divided for so long and we're, I guess, moving towards all being one. But at the same time, I guess sometimes I forget that we are the earth. I think Benu just said that in the chat. I really appreciate that. Like, it's just, we're not just, we're connected to the world as not just living here, but it's just what we are. So I really love that. That's probably gonna stick with me for a while. So
So I'm just gonna toot my horn like just a little bit, but I don't think I ever thought of like climate justice as colors until I came into this workshop. I don't even really know how I like even got to like the path of like why I'm talking about colors, but like you guys made me recognize that like really like the sensory things, like really tapping in and like really taking a moment and looking outside of your world and seeing the colors that are surrounding it. And it's like you want to change the colors that you see. So like if you live in an area where, like let's say there's a lot of smog or like just pollution and things, your world is like a little bit more mute. It's like grayer or darker almost to say. And then when you envision like almost like in like all those dystopian things, like when you envision a world, like what does it look like? And you see all these colors, you see abundances of green, you see, like your purples, like, you see an abundance of color. And that's, to me, I just feel like, yeah, I would have never gotten to that point if you guys didn't bring me there. The Rainbow Tribe will save us all. Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing. Anyone else is also welcome to share. Again, you don't have to unmute. You can also put it in the chat. We just want to leave this space open to anyone.
I can say a little. I think I write about this type of stuff all the time because it's just like keeps me sane. It keeps me just, continuing to fight for what I fight for. And I really, was touched by everything that was shared today. And I think like what Isha said, like I sort of knew what freedom meant for me and like what it looks like for me, but I really just got to understand it more and just thinking it from like as a a broad perspective and really all my identities, which y'all helped me do as a facilitator, and so I appreciate all y'all for that. But yeah.
I can share. I appreciated the prompt so much that it like engaged every sense, because what came up to me was freedom was so related to smell and taste, and then like the images that were coming to me created like such a visceral like bodily reaction that was like, yo, I could access freedom like right now if I want to, and I just want that to be like the default. If that could just be like the default for like everything, everyone, like all the time. And yeah, and like just like all these things that like gave me so much joy, like all this food that gave me joy that were like not something I would eat in public, like because they're not, like Western. I don't know. Yeah, but yeah, that's it.
So wait, I just have a quick question. It's like sort of besides the point, but I guess it's more um about the organization. So are you like, I don't think I actually know anything about your organization. So if I'm holding anyone, then honestly, I apologize. But like, I guess a quick synopsis for myself about your organization. What is it? What do you do? Where are you based out of? And is it just like, or do you have things like planned around? Because like I have noticed that a majority of people in this session are kind of on the West Coast, and then here it's just, little old me on the East Coast. And even like coming to this whole like power shift thing, it was for me to sort of branch out and try and find climate change collectives around me. So that's a lot of questions in one. But the main one is, what is your organization? Just a little bit about it, and then just answer that part.
Yeah, that's a great point. We probably should have started with that. Next time. Thank you. I know that it is 5, so if anyone has to hop off, you're welcome to. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so glad that you all like felt touched by this workshop. Is it cool if I start y'all talking about what YV is and then y'all can fill in? Okay, so Youth versus Apocalypse is a climate justice organization based in the Bay Area, so California, that is run by predominantly frontline youth. So youth from all different backgrounds and experiences of oppression. And so, the work that we do is really grounded in dismantling the systems of oppression that are responsible for creating the climate crisis. So our work is really about, building a movement of intersectionality and solidarity with other movements. So yeah, we do that work sort of through 3 different ways. So we have a fellowship program that happens annually where we train new activists. And then we do a bunch of school-based presentations to engage youth that way. And then the third piece is our campaign. So if you go on our website, we have about 6 active campaigns that range from being like local to statewide. And then we have one that's like sort of national. So yeah, just an example of one of those. So one of them is the Red, Black, and Green New Deal campaign. And it's actually cool because the Movement for Black Lives just launched one too, which is a little bit different than ours. But what we're doing is really working with groups in Oakland who are fighting to defund the Oakland Police Department by 50%. So we've been plugging into that work and are trying to advocate for some of those funds to be used for environmental justice as a part of like this practice of reimagining public safety. And then we have a bunch of other things that my comrades can talk about, but that's sort of like the gist of who we are.
Yeah, and we also, this is like literally my job, which is why I'm saying it, but we have the Hip Hop and Climate Justice Initiative, which is a new thing within YVA where we basically uplift the campaigns that we have and, pressure our power holders and just restate the demands, but just all through hip hop. And we mobilize youth activists who are like also artists. It's a great way to get involved, if you're an artist around spoken word, poetry, hip hop, all that good stuff, and you can come to like, the workshops that I facilitate along with other people, and just really learn more about, how you can use your art to fight for climate justice along with other movements. And then also, pressure our power holders. We produce songs. No One's Disposable is a song that we produced last year, actually like yesterday came out on Earth Day. And then right now we're in the current process of creating a new song, pressuring our power holders about divestment and defunding.
Is it on Spotify or something? I could give it like a couple streams,
We have an EP actually. Let me just say a little bit. We have 3 songs, 2 music videos, and 3 spoken word pieces. I'm gonna find the link right now and put that in the chat. You can also go to our YouTube, which is Youth versus Apocalypse, to watch the other music video. This is the time. And then you can also go to our website and keep up with us on our social media to learn more about that and the rest of our work within YBA.
Thank you so much.
It also is on Spotify though, just the No One Is Disposable one.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But that's the full EP. All right. Any other questions before we hop off? The love in the chat. Thank you. Thank you all. This was such a beautiful session. I'm glad it worked out. It was a great group. Thank you for bringing your energy and putting it into this space. I hope everyone enjoys their weekend and their life and that we win, y'all, because we will.